So after seeing the epic movie RRR from director SS Rajamouli, a ton of people recommended that I check out another of his films from 2012 called Eega. Now, it just arrived on Netflix, and while this is a strange movie, it's also incredibly fun. A lovelorn man is murdered and then reincarnated as a housefly who seeks to avenge his death. So, yeah. The whole point of this movie is a revenge story where a dude who's in love with this girl gets killed by a bad guy who also really likes the same girl. Now, the dude who died, Nani, he comes back as a fly and then works to exact his revenge. And the movie's just as ridiculous as it sounds, but it's also really entertaining. You can't take this too seriously while watching it, but I chuckled a bunch at what was going on, especially after Nani comes back as the fly. There is a heavy use of CGI in this, and because, as can be expected, flies are not typically known for being trainable. And because this is about 10 years old, the graphics are a bit lacking also, where sometimes the imagery, including the backgrounds, look like video game cutscenes. Now the fly is obviously CGI, but the textures on it, they look really good. And most of the time, there are even shadows and reflections that are cast by the fly, so it certainly adds to the realism. The first part of this 2-hour and 25-minute movie is just the setup to show us Nani, the girl he's in love with, Bindu, and then the villain of the story, Sudeep. Now, at the start of the film, there's a ton of machismo and male bravado that's at play from both Nani and Sudeep as they both try to win over Bindu. And some of the humor is funny, and some of it is really chauvinistic, designed to make us weary of both guys. But then we do get to see the sweeter and softer side of Nani, showing us how he really is a good guy at heart. Now, the mannerisms the story gives to the fly version of Nani, they're wonderful. He has both human characteristics as well as some that resemble a dog. I'm not talking about physical features, but just the way that he goes about his movements. And amazingly, the more I watched, the more I was endeared to the fly, and I really began to root for him. Now, if you've ever had a fly buzz around you, you know how annoying that can be. So the film, it takes full advantage of this design and then it plays it to the fullest, with a lot of slapstick violence that ensues. And as cheesy as some of it might come across, it never made the film feel stupid or like I was wasting my time watching. I had a smile most of the time and then became emotionally invested in Nani's well-being. And the majority of this story is really the fly tormenting Sudeep, driving him mad, which then causes Sudeep to go to extremes to keep the fly away, as well as then work out just a way to kill it. And all the while, Sudeep is still trying to woo Bindu, which then makes Nani mad, and the cycle of craziness ramps up even more. Just like with RRR, there is the use of slow-mo in this, but it's not nearly to the degree that you might think. During the action sequences, the slow-mo really helps us to see how the fly maneuvers around, either to evade being hurt or to do some cool move, like spinning around a bullet or catching something on fire. There are also the expected song and dance numbers, especially in the first half of the film, but I was really enjoying them because they're infectious with the beat and the melody. And then similar tunes are revisited throughout the movie, almost like this hero's theme. Now, I do think the movie is a little long, especially for what it really is. It's just a long, complex, and violent Mr. Bean sketch, which is fun, and it's exactly what I hoped it would be, other than the length. And while it doesn't drag, the time does become noticeable after a while, because how many scenes can you really watch as the fly torments the villain without it feeling just a little repetitive? As the film gets to the finale, there's a big action sequence that everything has been building up to, and it can be a bit emotional. The action's crazy and it's over the top, making it even more fun to experience. And yeah, you do have to suspend all disbelief for this, especially towards the end, but the antics of the fly as he teased and tormented Sudeep, it made me smile. And Sudeep plays it up perfectly. He's gregarious and excitable, making every reaction explosive, which then creates this villain that we love to hate. Now, despite some of what happens in the finale, there's still a sweetness that the film leaves us with and then gives us more to chuckle at. And you are going to want to be sure to watch through most of the credits as the scenes continue the story for us. Now, the one thing that I really love about this movie, which also puts all of the craziness and unbelievability on the shelf, is how the film begins. There are voices having a conversation. And it's really important to remember this while the movie plays out, especially if you find yourself rolling your eyes at any ridiculousness. It all fits perfectly when viewed in the right context. So overall, Eega is a fun and quirky love story that embraces the silliness while not getting so absurd that it becomes a joke. The action's violent and big, creating almost non-stop excitement to keep the story moving. The CGI is a bit dated, and the overall length of the movie is a bit long, but at the end, I had a blast while watching, and I really enjoyed how a bizarre love story could turn into a revenge story, all while centering around a housefly. There's no sex, some creatively hidden nudity, some profanity, and then a ton of violence. I give Eega 4 out of 5 couches. So what's a ridiculous action movie that you like to watch? Let me know what it is in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.